Hi, this is Chris Walker. Look, I need you to stop scrolling for a second, because if you're about to drop hundreds or thousands of dollars on a new TV this February, you are walking into a minefield. It is terrifying out there right now. The manufacturers know you're still riding that post-holiday impulse, and they are banking on you not reading the fine print. 2026 has already brought us some of the sneakiest downgrades I have ever seen. I'm talking about panel lotteries where you don't know what tech you're actually getting, and hidden memory cuts that make brand new TVs feel sluggish right out of the box. It's ridiculous. My job is to buy the junk so you don't have to, and to highlight the few diamonds in the rough that are actually worth your hard-earned cash right now. If you appreciate independent testing that puts your wallet before their marketing budget, do me a huge favor and hit that like button and subscribe. It's the only way we can keep running these labs without taking sponsor money from the brands we review. All right, let's expose the truth about this month's market. Now, before we look at the first set, we have to talk about what's happening behind the curtain in 2026, because this is going to affect every single purchase you make this year. We're currently in the middle of what I'm calling the DRAM squeeze. You've probably seen the news. DRAM prices have effectively doubled since last summer. And because companies like Samsung and Sony are trying to hit those same $1,200 to $2,000 price points you expect, they're making a trade-off that they aren't putting on the box. They are gutting the internal memory of these TVs. Here's why that matters to you. In the showroom, these TVs look fast because they're playing one demo loop, but the second you get it home, load up Netflix, Disney Plus, and a heavy gaming dashboard, these mid-range 2026 models are lagging. I've had 3 units in the lab this week that actually crashed just trying to switch from an HDMI input to a native app. It's a silent downgrade, and it's why some of these deals aren't deals at all. They're hardware traps.
But let's start with a winner, because if you want the safest bet in the market right now, it's the LG C5 OLED Evo. This is the 55-inch model that most people are going to gravitate toward, and for good reason. LG didn't try to reinvent the wheel here, they just refined it. We're looking at a peak brightness of around 1434 nits in HDR, which is a solid jump from last year. What that means for you in the real world is that the pop in a scene, like a flashlight in a dark hallway or a sunset over the ocean, actually feels visceral. It's powered by the Alpha 9 Gen 8i chip, and I'll be honest, the upscaling is impressive. If you're still watching 1080p content or older YouTube videos, this chip does a better job of cleaning up blocky artifacts than almost anything else at this price. However, here's where the marketing department gets sneaky. LG advertises brightness booster across the whole C5 line, but when we put our meters on the 42 and 48-inch versions, that brightness jump completely disappears. If you're buying this for a bedroom or a desk setup in those smaller sizes, you're basically paying 2026 prices for 2024 brightness levels. It's only in this 55-inch and larger bracket where you actually see the benefit of the new panel structure. Also, can we talk about this remote? We're in 2026. This is a premium television that costs over $1,000, and LG is still giving us this clunky, non-backlit plastic wand? If you're watching a movie in the dark, which is what this TV is built for, you're basically fumbling in the blind to change the volume. It's a small gripe, but it's a sign of where they're cutting corners. On the plus side, for my gamers, this is still the king of connectivity. You get 4 full-bandwidth HDMI 2.1 ports. That means you can have your PS5, your Xbox, your PC, and a high-end soundbar all plugged in at once without playing musical chairs with your cables.
Look, I'm going to keep digging into the rest of this list, but I want to stop for a second because I work for you, not the brands. We've got a massive queue of gear coming into the lab, but I want to know what you are stressed about buying right now. Is there a specific projector you're eyeing for a home theater, or maybe a mid-range soundbar that sounds too good to be true? Drop a comment below and let me know what you want to see me tear down next.
I read every single one, and it's how I decide which units we order for the next deep dive. All right, moving on to the heavy hitters. If you've got a room with massive windows or you're a hardcore PC gamer, the Samsung S95F is a beast, but it's a complicated one. This is their QD OLED flagship for the season, and the big story here is the glare-free matte coating. I was skeptical at first. Usually matte screens kill that inky black OLED look and make everything look a bit grainy, but Samsung actually pulled it off. In a bright living room at 2 p.m. on a Sunday, you can actually see what's happening in a dark movie scene without seeing your own reflection staring back at you. It's a game changer for visibility. And for gamers, this thing hits a 165 Hz refresh rate. If you're hooking this up to a high-end rig, the motion is so liquid smooth it almost feels like looking through a window. But, and this is a truth bomb you won't find on the Amazon listing, Samsung is playing the panel lottery again with the S90F model just below this one. Some people are getting the high-end QD OLED panels, while others are getting standard WOLED panels from a different factory. It's a literal coin flip for the same price. With the S95F, you're safe. You're getting the top-tier tech, but you're paying a certainty tax for it. Also, that DRAM squeeze I mentioned earlier, it hits Samsung the hardest. Their Tizen OS is packed with AI hub features and game streaming apps, and sometimes the hardware just can't keep up. I've seen the menu hang for 3 or 4 seconds just trying to adjust the brightness. When you're spending $1,600, that shouldn't happen.
Now, if those prices made your stomach turn, we need to talk about the disruptor, the Hisense U75 QG. This is a mini LED set, and it is the definition of punching above its weight class. While the OLEDs are fighting to hit 1,400 nits, this Hisense is pushing closer to 3,000. It is violently bright. If you're watching sports in a sun-drenched room, this is the TV you want. It uses thousands of tiny LEDs to create local dimming zones, and while it doesn't have the infinite contrast of an OLED, the blooming, that annoying white glow around subtitles, is almost non-existent thanks to their new quantum precision controller. But here is the stuff they don't tell you. To hit that $550 price point, Hisense made a major compromise on the ports. Unlike the LG, you only get 2 HDMI 2.1 ports here, and one of them is your eARC port. So if you have a soundbar and a PS5, you're already out of high-speed slots. If you try to plug an Xbox Series X or a gaming PC into those other 2 ports, you're capped at 60 Hz. It's a massive bottleneck for anyone with more than one console. And the software? It's Google TV, which I love, but Hisense uses a cheaper processor than Sony. It feels snappy today, but based on the user reviews we're seeing for the early 2026 batches, there are already out-of-memory errors popping up if you install too many apps. It's the perfect TV for a specific person, the value seeker who just wants a big, bright picture for cheap. But it's not the forever TV that the LG C5 is. So we've looked at the safe bet, the gaming king, and the value king, but that's only the first half of the story. If those felt like overkill, or maybe just a little too focused on one specific feature, the next few models are where the math actually starts to make sense for the average living room. Because as we move into the mid-tier, we start seeing some of the most aggressive price cutting I've seen in years, but also some of the most dangerous quality control issues.
Look, I know what you're thinking. Chris, just tell me which one to buy. I promise we are getting to the definitive verdict, but first we have to look at the 3 TVs you should absolutely under no circumstances touch right now, even if they're on sale for half off, because a 50% discount on a TV that's going to die in 14 months is just an expensive way to fill up a landfill. Let's look at why the deal of the century might actually be the biggest mistake of your year. If the LG C5 is the safe bet and the Samsung is the gamer's high, then the Sony Bravia 8 II is the cinephile's obsession. But I'll be honest with you, this TV is the ultimate test of your priorities. Sony isn't playing the brightness war. While Hisense is out there screaming about 3,000 nits, Sony is sitting back and saying, we don't need to be the brightest, we just need to be the smartest. And they're mostly right. The XR processor in this
this thing is doing things with AI that actually feel like magic. I fed it some grainy 720p footage from a 2012 travel vlog, and the way it reconstructs the detail without making it look plastic or AI smeared is light years ahead of the competition. If you watch a lot of older movies, cable TV, or even just compressed Netflix streams, the Bravia 8.2 makes them look like native 4K. It's the closest thing to a remaster button I've ever seen. But, and here's the truth bomb that makes me want to pull my hair out, Sony is still stuck in the past with their hardware. It's 2026 and this premium television still only has 2 HDMI 2.1 ports. Look, I know what the sales guy at the big box store told you. You only need one for your console. He's wrong. If you have a PS5 and an Xbox, or a PC and a high-end soundbar using eARC, you are out of ports. You're literally paying $2,000 for a TV that requires you to get behind it and swap cables like it's 2015. It is inexcusable for a flagship. And let's talk about the Acoustic Surface Audio Plus. Sony uses actuators to turn the entire screen into a speaker. It sounds incredible. It's the only TV where the voices actually sound like they're coming from the actor's mouth. But here's the quirk. If you have a massive subwoofer or you like your movies loud, the physical vibration of the glass can actually cause subtle shimmering in the picture during high bass scenes. It's rare, but once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Now, if you just saw that $2,000 price tag and felt your bank account tremble, let's pivot to the TCL QM5K. This is the TV that is currently breaking the internet because it's a 65-inch mini LED for under $500. On paper, it's a miracle. You're getting quantum dots, a decent mini LED backlight array, and even 144Hz VRR for gaming. In a dark room, the contrast is shockingly good for the price. If you're coming from a 5-year-old budget LED, this is going to look like a revelation. The blacks are actually black, not that cloudy gray you're used to. But here's the stuff they don't tell you. To get that price down, TCL used a processor that is effectively a potato. Remember that DRAM squeeze I talked about? The QM5K is the poster child for it. Out of the box, it's fine, but after 3 weeks of use, as the cache fills up, the Google TV interface starts to chug. I've had units where it takes 5 seconds just to pull up the volume bar while an app is running. And the 144Hz gaming, it's technically there, but the motion processing is so weak that you get noticeable ghosting, that faint trail behind moving objects in fast-paced shooters like Call of Duty. If you're a casual gamer, you won't care, but if you're competitive, that $450 price tag comes with a skill ceiling. Alright, now we need to get serious. We need to talk about the do not touch list because this is where the industry is getting really sneaky this February. First up, the S90F. This is the most frustrating TV of the year because on its best day, it's a 10 out of 10, but you don't know if you're getting a best day unit. Samsung is currently sourcing 2 different types of panels for this exact same model number, QD OLED and WOLED. It's a literal panel lottery. If you get the QD OLED version, you get incredible color volume and brightness. If you get the WOLED version, it's significantly dimmer and the colors look flatter. And here's the kicker. There is no way to tell from the box. You have to buy it, take it home, and use a magnifying glass to look at the pixel structure. It's a disrespectful way to treat consumers, and until Samsung commits to one panel type, I'm telling everyone to stay away. Plus that glare-free coating they're so proud of, in a bright room, it actually lifts the black levels. Instead of deep, bottomless blacks, the whole screen takes on this weird, milky, pinkish tint when direct light hits it. It completely kills the OLED advantage. Next on the avoid list, the LG B5 OLED. Every February, this model goes on a mega sale, and people flock to it because it's the cheapest way to get an LG OLED. Don't do it. This year, the B5 isn't just a dimmer C5, it's built on older 2024-era architecture that LG is just trying to clear out of their warehouses. The peak brightness on the B5 is nearly 40% lower than the C5. If you have even one lamp on in your room, the reflections will overpower the image. But even worse is the clearance batch quality control. We are seeing massive reports of vertical banding, those faint gray lines you see during football games or panning shots in movies. LG is using the panels that weren't good enough for the C series and slapping a B5 sticker on them. Saving $200 isn't worth staring at a straight screen for the next 5 years. And the final warning, the Samsung QN90F. This is what I call the contrast heist. The QN90 series used to be the gold standard for many LED, but for the 2026 F revision, internal teardowns have revealed that Samsung actually reduced the number of local dimming zones compared to last year's model to save on manufacturing costs. They're banking on the QN90 name to sell units, but the actual performance is a step backward. You get way more blooming around white text, and the HDR just doesn't have that inkiness that made the previous generations famous. It's a new model that is objectively worse than the one it replaced. If you see a QN90D from 2025 on clearance, buy that instead. It's a better TV in every measurable way. Look, I know this is a lot of data. I know your head is probably spinning with nits and DRAM and panel lotteries, but this is why we do this. The brands want you to focus on the flashy 4K HDR stickers on the box. They don't want you to know that they're gutting the processors or playing games with the panels. We've covered the safest bets and the dangerous traps. Now it's time to bring it all together. Who are these TVs actually for? And if you have a specific budget, say exactly $1,000, where should your money go? We're moving into the final stretch. I'm going to give you my definitive best overall and best value picks, and I'm going to drop a truth bomb about the extended warranties that the retailers are going to try to shove down your throat during checkout. You need to hear this before you hit purchase. So we've waded through the marketing swamp, we've dodged the panel lottery traps, and we've exposed the DRAM squeeze slowing down your favorite apps. Now comes the part where we actually make a decision. Because at the end of the day, you don't want a spec sheet. You want a TV that makes your movies look like a theater and your games feel like the future. If you are looking for the one TV to rule them all, the LG C5 OLED EVO is the undeniable champion of February 2026. It is the only set on this list that doesn't ask you to compromise on something vital. You get the perfect blacks, you get the 1400 nit brightness peak that actually makes HDR meaningful, and you get the 4 HDMI 2.1 ports that every modern home needs. Is it the absolute brightest? No, the Hisense is brighter. Is it the absolute cheapest? No, the TCL wins there, but the LG is the only one that feels like a polished, finished product. It's the Goldilocks of televisions. The software is stable, the upscaling is top tier, and most importantly, you know exactly what hardware you're getting in the box. No lotteries, no excuses. But look, I get it. $1,200 is a lot of money. If you want the most bang for your buck without feeling like you bought a cheap toy, the Hisense U75 QG is the winner. For $550, you are getting brightness levels that were reserved for $3,000 flagships just 2 years ago. If you're a sports fan, someone who watches the Sunday games in a room with the blinds open, this is actually a better choice for you than the LG OLED. Just remember my warning. Get a high-quality HDMI switcher if you have more than 2 consoles, and maybe consider an external streaming stick like a Fire Stick 4K Max or an Apple TV in a year or two once the internal processor starts to feel the DRAM squeeze.
Now, before I give you the final verdict, I have to drop a truth bomb about the one thing the retailer is going to try to sell you at the very last second: the extended warranty. In 2026, these plans are higher margin than the TVs themselves. Here is the reality. If a TV has a manufacturing defect like dead pixels or vertical banding, it almost always shows up in the first 30 to 60 days. That's covered by your standard manufacturer warranty and the store's return policy. After that, the most common failure point is the main board or the power supply, and quite frankly, by the time those fail in year 4 or 5, the cost of the warranty plus the deductible often equals the price of a brand new, better TV. The only exception, if you're buying an OLED and you plan on leaving CNN or a news ticker on for 12 hours a day, get a warranty that explicitly covers burn-in. If it doesn't say burn-in in writing, it's a waste of your money. If you're a buyer profile that doesn't fit the standard mold, here's your path. If you are a cinema purist who watches 4K Blu-rays and cares about creative intent, get the Sony Bravia 8 II. Its AI processing is unmatched. If you are a competitive gamer who treats your TV like a giant monitor, the Samsung S95F with its 165Hz refresh rate and matte coating is your weapon of choice. Just be prepared for the Tizen OS to act up occasionally. Look, buying a TV in 2026 shouldn't feel like a gamble, but the brands are making it one. I've put the safe path links in the description below. These aren't just random Amazon links. They're the specific SKU numbers and vetted listings where you've confirmed the panel types and batch numbers to help you avoid that panel lottery I mentioned. Using those links supports this channel and keeps us independent, so thank you for that. At the end of the day, don't let the fear of missing out drive your purchase. If you don't see a deal that feels 100% right today, wait till the late February clearance surge. The 2027 models are being announced soon, and that's when the real price wars begin.
I'm Chris Walker. You've been warned, you've been informed, and now you're ready to buy. I'll see you in the next deep dive.